Letmeinspireyou. And today I have Abby as my guest. Hi, Abby.
Hi.
So, Abby, introduce yourself a little bit.
So I'm Abby. I started off with doing healing and then kind of stumbled across loads of other things, and I mainly focus on law of attraction. It's my biggest passion. And I do YouTube with Abby's Auras. I'm just basically trying to help people find their own happiness, really, in whatever situation there is. And Isabella agrees, so.
That's great. So, Abby, how come you started with all this? Is this something that came naturally, or did something happen that you felt that you had to focus within, or how did the whole thing get started?
So it actually happened because I was going through a really bad time. So they call it a divine storm. So they're like it's a horrible situation, but it actually helps you in some kind of way.
Right.
And because I was just going through the worst time, I ended up stumbling across. I tried to watch a tarot card thing on YouTube, and then I ended up stumbling across, like, at the end of the video, they just talked about like an energy healing course, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna do it. And I've never ever done anything like that in my whole life. I've never bought a course. Like, I didn't even know what it was.
That's quite big, from not having done a course before and just healing. It's kind of.
Yeah, it was really crazy. I think it's because a few weeks prior, I actually me and my friend, we actually went to like a little it was like a little sales day. So there was loads of like people that do like Reiki there, or people that do like sell crystals and stuff like that. We just went to like a little I don't even know what it is called. I've never seen one since either. But we just went on a little day out to like a little convention, and my son was with us, and he kept touching everything. Everything was so shiny, and he kept touching everything. So he kept picking up everyone's card and like, oh yeah, we'll call you. And I'm like, no, you don't just ring them. But he ended up picking this guy's card up, and I said, Freddie, stop touching everything. And he was like, oh no, don't worry. And then he said that he liked my energy, and I didn't have a clue what he was on about. Like, I didn't know what any of this meant. And then he looked at me and he was like, you have healing hands. And I was like, I don't know what you're on about. I didn't even know what Reiki was then.
Right.
So I was like, I don't know what you're on about. And he was like, sit down and I'll do a reading for you. And he basically just told me everything I was going through. And I was like, wow, okay. I've always been open to readings and things because my mum, when she was here, she used to go to them, and then she passed. So me and my sisters have been to them together and stuff like that. So I've always been open and known about that, but I never knew the depth it could go. I thought it was just that. I thought people just could speak to dead people, and that was pretty much it. I didn't know, but I was very wrong. And he actually told me that I had the gift, and he was like, you have your clairs are actually open. And he was like, so when you see things in the corner of your eye, that's what it is. And I was like, what? So yeah, I when I went home, I tried to Google what healing was, because he said I had really strong healing hands. So I didn't know what he was on about, but he was just laughing. He was like, just try and figure it out yourself. And he left me his card if I ever needed any help. So I went on Google, and then I just seen someone holding their hands like this, and I didn't understand what was happening. I was like, that's so stupid. Like, people are saying that that's doing something, but like they're not explaining what they're doing. I was so confused. And then a few weeks later, I'm just going through so much stuff. So I went onto this YouTube video, and that's why I think I took the leap, and I just bought the course, and it was like £300 and something, and I never had money, but I just did it, and I don't know why. I suppose it was just, now I know it's like my spirit guides and things trying to guide me, and right. I was just brave enough to take the leap. So I did it, and then it opened up so much for me. Like, messages started to come through all the time, and I didn't know what was happening. And yeah, my spiritual side got really strong. Like, just channel the message when I wasn't trying to. I didn't know what was happening, but yeah.
So for those who are not into like spirituality and stuff like that, what you're saying about the message, how do you get message, and
well,
what kind
I
of
used to
message do you
think
get?
that there was like a dead person in the room and you could just talk to them, but it's completely not like that. Like, that's genuine. I was so naive. That's what I thought, but it's not. It's just like I have a few different ones. As if like clairvoyant is like when you see things, you can hear things, you can, you know, have a sense and just a deep knowing. So my strong ones are clairvoyant, so I see a lot of things, but you can actually control them too. So I actually asked if I could stop seeing things because it was getting, I didn't feel comfortable, and I didn't really like seeing things in my house a lot. So I asked them to stop, and they did. Like, basically your spirit guides are there as like little bodyguards, and they will, if you let them know what you're okay with, then they will allow that to filter through. So I didn't like the, you know, seeing things a lot. So I just asked them if they could just not do that anymore, and they did straight away. It was fine. But you basically, like, it's like if you sing a song, and then if I sung a song, like, let's just say like happy birthday, and then in your head you're saying to you, it's just like you can hear it, but it's like you can't hear it. So it's not like someone is actually saying something to you. You can just hear it in your head.
It's like a thought, basically.
Yeah. But then if you close your eyes, sometimes you can see like lights or images, and it's kind of like charades. So you just put the images together to try and understand what it means. So that's why people can get the messages wrong. It's just because they don't understand what that image means. So they're trying to, you know, ask maybe the client or something like that. They're trying to understand themselves. So, yeah, so my strongest one is I see a lot, and I just know, like, I just know things. And that's probably the hardest one, that you can't really control that one. So like with the seeing, you can strengthen things, and you can strengthen like hearing things and stuff like that. You can strengthen all of them, but it's hard to just know. And then because you can't really explain to people like, no, I just know, and they're like, no, you don't. So it's a harder one to deal with. But I just know, like, I just knew I was pregnant with Isabella. I just told my partner, I was like, I just know I am. And he was like, he just trusts me. So he was like, okay. And no one else really believed me. And I was like, no, I just am. And I know it's a girl, and it's just happening. And I just know it. And then it just happened. But I think if you trust in yourself, it's a lot easier to be guided. But if you don't trust in, you know, what's coming through, because I'm sure that everyone listening has probably had multiple messages, but they don't understand their messages. So that's probably the biggest case. And you know, but once you get into it, it doesn't seem as scary, because you know how safe it is. Like, you're always protected. And I only ever say, you know, with love and light. So I only allow in love and light. And I don't actually intentionally try to get messages either. So
they just appear.
Yeah, like, I don't ever try and like read for people. I normally just do energy or Reiki, and it just comes through as I'm doing that. So I'll just ask them, like, if anything comes through, would you like to know or not? And then, you know, get their consent first. But apart from that, I do not ask to like know things.
Right. But the messages that come they through your guides or their guides, or how does that work?
So they can both be there. So my guide, so I can tell, I think it's because I started off doing energy healing, I can tell people's energy. So that's how, like, I don't actually see like their guides there, I just know that it's different from mine because I know my guide's energy.
Right.
So it just feels different. It's just like if someone walks into the room and they're a negative person,
Oh yeah.
and you can kind of feel like, oh, it's just
You
like
feel
kind of
great.
this, yeah, it's kind
Yeah.
of the same, but just in a more positive way. But
Okay.
so you never feel rubbish. It's just that, you can just feel the difference. And you just have to just trust yourself, because otherwise you're just going to end up blocking the message off. So the more you trust, the more clear it gets.
Right.
So I've had times where my spirit guides have been there, and then theirs has too. And I think that sometimes maybe if they don't have many people that have passed, so their spirit guides can just help them, guide what they need. And
Right.
also I've seen angels, and I didn't even know angels was like a thing. Obviously I was really new to all of it, so I was just like, how am I seeing an angel? But I just thought it was kind of something that, was just, I don't know, it was like maybe made up. But that was one of the first things that I seen, and I was so confused of why I was seeing it. But now I've just opened myself up to a lot more, then I'm kind of like, yeah, it's an angel, like,
Oh
but
yeah.
it's
But
kind
how
of a
did
little
it
bit more
feel?
normal.
How did it feel the first time? I mean, I can only imagine. Just do you feel that everything is okay, or
The
you?
first time, I think I was in complete shock because I didn't know I was doing it. So I was sitting there, I was trying to meditate. I was trying to learn to meditate at this point, and my mind just goes constant. So I was trying to calm my mind, and I ended up slipping into the meditation without me realizing. So then I basically could see, like, it's like an eagle's view, I think they call it. So I could see my body down below, and I was watching it all happen, and I was sat there like, what's happening? Like, why can I see this? And I still didn't click what was going on.
Right.
And so my mum has passed, and I could see my mum next to my body, and I was like, I must have fell asleep. And I was talking to myself like, I'm obviously not seeing this, but it was still there. So I just carried on watching to see what would happen. And my mum was like laughing, saying like, yeah, she's done it, because I've been trying to learn to meditate for a very long time and I couldn't do it. So then I see my mum like, yeah, she's doing it, I'm so proud of you, like, go on, girl. And I was just like, just don't understand what's going on. And it took me so long to just be like, oh, it's a message. Because I thought, I don't know, I thought kind of I thought people that could, speak to spirits, I thought they would stand in them and you could speak to them. I never
Right.
knew that it was like maybe just like pictures. So it was kind of like a movie. As you close your eyes and visualize something, it's kind of the same thing. That's how I get it anyway. So I was like, oh, it's a message, and I didn't understand. And then I started to see angels and stuff like that, and they were aligning my chakras and things like that. And then I came out of it, and I was just sat there for ages like, I don't understand what's just happened. But I messaged my mentor, and she was like, it's fine, it's okay, it's just a message. And I was just like, oh, it's weird.
But your guides, do you know who they are?
I
mean,
don't know.
you don't know. Okay.
No, I did. I tried to ask a few times, but no, nothing really came through. And I think that sometimes you're meant to know, and sometimes you're just not ready to know.
Right.
So I think also I resonate a lot more now as I've grown through I've been doing this for, I don't even know how many years now, but quite a few years. And I think that now I resonate more with my higher self, because I feel like that's kind of my power.
Right.
And I just feel more connected with it. So I feel like it's a part of me rather than asking out for advice from somewhere.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's great. So how is it with the Reiki? How does that work? I mean,
so
for someone that really doesn't have any idea about energy, and yeah.
So
Not a
the
believer, if you want
Reiki,
to call it that way.
yeah, so the Reiki, basically all types of healing come from the divine energy, which is just the higher power, and travels like through you to the client. I don't do the healing. It's just kind of, I'm just the vessel to allow it to pass through.
Mm-hmm.
So it just kind of passes through me and to the client, and you can go over their body with your hands, just hover over it, and you can sometimes feel heat on your hands for where there's an area that needs more work. Maybe it's got like stuck energy, or the you can actually, I can see the chakras when I'm doing healing, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the time they're either spinning too fast or too slow. So you can tell if someone, especially with someone that's got anxiety, it's very, very, very slow. And then if they start to have like maybe an anxiety attack, it goes really, really fast.
Mm-hmm.
So you can tell whether someone's like mind is racing in the nerves, because you can tell it starts spinning really fast, and you're able in the healing to slow that down, and they start to feel a lot calmer. So in the past, my son has had an anxiety attack before, because of all this lockdown and stuff like that. And I just went in and I just calmed his chakras down, not him, his chakras,
Right.
and just slowed them all down. And he was just like, okay, it's okay now. And you just, the instant release.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really interesting. I was so like naive. I didn't understand any of this,
But that's what I kind of love of the whole story, that you were so unaware of it and started working with it. I mean, there are so many people that kind of, they have grandmothers or something that they kind of have passed on
yeah.
um, the energy or the knowledge about it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure because I didn't have any of this and I didn't know about any of it. Well, I've always been able to see things and hear things. Like when I was younger, I had a few experiences, but my mum always used to just say, "Oh, it's your imagination," and I thought it was just my imagination. But as I was going through this process, I've been told after this process, like, it's not your imagination, it's you. And that it's only like maybe more attracted to me because they know that I'm more of an open vessel.
Right.
So it's not necessarily like, because I used to be like, what, they're following me? And it's like, no, it's not. It's just because they know that I'm more open and can receive the messages. Whereas everyone in the world can do it if they just allow and open themselves up to it. But I think I was just, as we go through life, our third eye mostly closes off because of what we've seen around us. But for some reason, they just wanted to keep mine open. And then as I've gone through this experience, it's opened more and more. So I've just had to learn to control it. And I think that probably my friends and family thought I was crazy at first, but I think they're getting used to my craziness now.
But I mean, have you done healing on them so they can feel like what's going on?
I've done healing on some of my family. I think only like probably one of my sisters, but that's pretty much it. I don't really push it on people if they don't resonate with it.
Yeah,
I think they
right.
only resonate with it. Well, I think they only get on with it just because I'm doing it and they just want to support me.
Yeah.
But yeah, my partner makes me do it all the time. But he's really into all of these stuff, because his dad is too. So
Right.
I think, yeah, he wants me to do it on him all the time. And then I think everyone else is kind of the old version of me. It's really weird. So like, I feel like a new person now, but everyone else is kind of like the old version where like, I just don't get it. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. It's okay. Not everyone needs to get it. As
Yeah.
long as you know that everyone keeps their like it's judgment. If you're judging, then it's not okay. But if
Just respect
no one,
each other.
yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But everyone's fine.
Because I know that, the more aware you become of things, the more aware your family kind of becomes aware of things. I know, like, my husband and I, we're very different, and we come from two very different cultures. Um, And he has said that I'm a bit woo woo with some
Yeah.
things, but it kind of, the more he sees of the things that I do or the things that I talk about and the books that I read, the more he kind of gets it.
Yeah. I think it's just like your energy. So what happens is, it's the same with law of attraction. If you're around someone with lower energy, not people think low energy is negative. It's not. It's just a different type of energy. So
Yeah.
then, because we're more naturally open to things, we have naturally more higher energy. So we're basically, it's like we're more higher to the divine kind of energy, because we are open and understand it more. Whereas
Right.
they're kind of more attached to the human energy. That's how
Yeah.
I kind of describe it. But the more that they're around you, the more you naturally lift them, so they start to understand more as well.
Yeah.
And I think that has happened in some cases, and in some cases I've probably, well, I've lost friends because they really think I've gone crazy. But it's okay, because I don't want, they need to be true to themselves too. So
Yeah, and I'm sure you gain a lot of friends as
oh
well.
yeah, I have definitely
Yeah,
so
so
many.
that's great, and it's so much easier when you can resonate with people and talk, and the other person actually understands you totally.
Yeah.
So it's different, of course. Um, so when, for example, if, because some people get very, when there is someone that is very negative, that kind of brings the
Yeah.
energy down.
We
Do
call them like an energy vampire.
You're right.
That's what we say when you're learning energy healing, because as soon as sorry, as soon as you've been around higher energy, you can really feel the lower energy a lot more, and it just drains you. It makes you feel not very nice. But
Yeah. But is there any way that you can like work with yourself to kind of get,
protect yourself.
yeah.
100%. So at first, I don't have to do it as often now, because I'm more kind of used to it now. I'm used to, because it can make you feel like very down if you don't kind of get used to it. Because I found at first, when I was around, because I still have to go to work and things like that, it was really making me feel really uncomfortable and upset. But it was because I was picking up on their energy, and I didn't understand how to control it. But basically, if every morning I'd pretend that I'd put a bubble around myself, and I would fill the bubble with white light. Just imagine it with white light,
Mm-hmm.
which is the divine energy, really. So then I would just imagine myself like, and I would say like, nothing can get through this bubble. It's okay, like, and I just basically fill myself in a little bubble of Reiki or energy healing.
Right.
And then let's sit you up. You want to be on camera.
She also wants to be part of the live.
But after that, if I'd have to be around someone and I know I was coming up to them and they were like a little bit negative, then I would basically just make my bubble bigger and stronger and just keep saying it's okay, like they can't get through the energy. And then every night, if I'd have a bath or a shower, I would just imagine it clearing my energy, because at first that's probably one of the hardest bits, because it would make you feel so high, because you're feeling like, yeah, I feel so good and I feel so myself, and then as soon as you'd go around people, you just drop.
Mm-hmm.
And it was quite hard to deal with at first, but now I can kind of tell people's energy before I even get to them, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm just gonna avoid that situation. But
Yeah, that's great. And I mean, I think there are several people that can, relate to that. Uh, but oh, I thought about something. Um, when you do the Reiki, do you have to like kind of recover from your own energy, or how do you,
I do,
like,
yeah. At first, 100%. Like, even just doing one session, I would literally need a nap. Like, I'd feel so tired, because it takes a lot of energy out of you. So over the last few years, I've kind of it's become more easier, because it's just, I just do it naturally now. Like I do it so often, that it's just kind of easier to handle afterwards. But I don't do as much healing anymore. I focus on more of like law of attraction, and I channel for my YouTube videos and things like that, because I think that like I don't know it all. Like my spirit guides, like, and spirit team or whatever, like they're the ones that are helping me. So
Yeah.
I just try and learn as much as I can, and then they back me up and they're just helping me.
Right.
So they know more of what everyone needs to hear than I do. So
Uh,
I get really tired after doing that, because it just takes a lot of energy to do it. So
mm,
I do a lot of healing on myself. I make sure I have crystals around and things like that to really help clear my energy, because you don't want to be healing people that are depressed and have anxiety and things like that, and then not clearing your own energy, because it's
right.
like you're the filter. You definitely don't want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, how was it that you started with law of attraction?
I actually found law of attraction before I found the healing, but I didn't really understand what it was. So I was very, very poorly for a while. I'd have seizures, and I'd have around about quite a few a day.
Wow.
So it was really, I was on my own. I was single. I just had my son. It was just me and my son, and I was working like two jobs. At one point there was three jobs, but I was just trying to do everything I could to keep our house, and to make sure he had everything he wanted. And then everything from my childhood trauma just came and just smacked me in the face, and then it just gave me seizures. So because of them seizures, I kind of had a lot of hospital trips basically. So
Right.
I remember sitting in the hospital, and this lady was sat next to me, and she'll probably end up watching this, but she just turned to me and she was like, "You need to learn about law of attraction, or no, manifestation." And I was like, "I don't know what that is."
Excuse me.
Yeah, I was like, "What?" And then she started telling me about her book that she was in the middle of writing. She was sat there writing this book, and she was like, "Do you want to read some of it?" And I was like, "Sure." Okay. But I think I was so tired and I felt so poorly. I think that was when, I think that was the time I might have partially dislocated my jaw. So I was just sat there feeling so down, and they're trying to give me medicine to, numb me out really, to get rid of the pain. And I can't remember I think it was that time, but she was like, "Read some of my book." And I was like, "That's actually really good." But I could hardly even speak, but I was like, I could speak. I was like, "Yeah, that's good." And she was like, "I've manifested my own house." And she started explaining it to me, and I was like, "This is real. Is this really happening?" But she was really lovely, so I really believed what she was saying. I was like, "Yeah, I really want to look into that." And then I got home and I completely forgot about it. We have each other on Facebook from then, and she's actually just published a book. So I think she was like, I think this is like her third book now. Like she's really good. So I was like really happy to see that. But I got The Secret because she told me to get The Secret, and then never read it for ages. And then I just went about my normal life of seizures, and everything was just still going wrong, and I wasn't changing any of it. I was trying to avoid the drama, but I was just going through so much. It was really hard. Like I got my house kept get broken into. I was having seizures. It was just crazy. And honestly, I don't understand how so many things could happen. But now I'm like, it's because I was in such a negative mindset. Of course, all of that
Right.
happened. Because whatever you're thinking, and because I was so panicked by scary things all the time, I felt so unsafe. Unsafe things were happening.
Right.
So I was manifesting it without even knowing. And I already had that book, and I just didn't read it. But I
It,
just, yeah.
it kind of reminds me of the movie that they have made out of the book. how you
Yeah, that was me. I was that lady. I
right?
literally thought everything was meant to happen to me like that. I
Uh-huh.
didn't know that I could take control and choose to be positive,
Yeah.
because I was like, well, why should I be positive? I keep getting broken into. Like, I have seizures every day. I literally, I don't have a relationship with my dad, and I've lost my mom. So I was just like, everyone, I hate everyone. I was just not very nice. Like, I wasn't nasty to people, but I was just grumpy all the time. And even when people were being nice to me, I'd have like a sarcastic kind of banter, which they
Mm-hmm.
thought was hilarious. But really, it was just because I was just so sad and miserable. But
Yeah.
it was just a really horrible time. But then I finally started to look more into it. And when I went on and did the healing course, I healed my own seizures and I got rid of them. And then I was like, okay, well, something is happening here. And I was happy, but I was trying to fight the happiness. I was
Right.
like, no, I need to keep going. And then I read the book The Secret more, and I started to understand it more. And then, yeah, it just became my life. Like, I was not being around anyone negative. Like, if anyone was negative, I'd literally be like, I don't want to speak to you. Like, I
Yeah.
do not want to speak to you. It's not worth my manifestation right now. But I
Well,
think you have to be strict with that at first, because if you're in such a negative place, you've surrounded yourself by the same. So I
yeah.
needed to get out of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I
So
ended up losing
how
everything. So
how do you usually work with it? I mean, do you have like a notebook where you write every morning and evening, or how do you usually work with the law of attraction?
so I work more with my inside. So like my thoughts and my subconscious and things like that. So if I look at every single thing as a positive thing. So I will not allow myself to. If I see something negative, I will check. I've like trained my mind to be like, it's okay. It must be happening for a reason, and
Right.
like it just maybe it's a lesson to get me to where I need to be.
Yeah.
And I love scripting because I enjoy writing, and I love the journaling and things like that. But I don't actively have a routine that I'm like, right, okay, I need to do this and I need to do that, because I'm so confident with it. I'm just like, I know it's gonna manifest. Like, and it's because I've trained myself to be my mindset to be so strict and be positive, because I'm just not going back to that horrible place.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. So is that, do you help other people to get to that place with the law of attraction?
So I have a course, and it basically just takes you through the healing process and does all the inner work. And because I started off with the healing, I healed all my past trauma. So I was able to manifest a lot easier because I didn't have as many blocks. So all of your past trauma, it's not very nice sometimes going through the healing stages, but it's vital if you want a happy life without your negative ego constantly telling you that you can't do things when you really
Right.
can. So I take them through the healing, and then explain exactly how law of attraction works, and things like that. And then I also do go live with them each week, but they don't ever really need it, because they're like, I know this now, like I've got this, but I just show up and just
Yeah.
in case. And I do healing with them every week to make sure they're staying on top of their energy and also growing with the new version of themselves, because I feel like I've grown like a million times from where I first started. I don't resonate with that person ever, like at all. So
Right.
I think it's important to keep doing the healing so you keep growing into a positive person, rather than bringing the baggage with you into your
Yeah.
nice positive life.
Yeah. Well, that's great. But I mean, at the same time, if you wouldn't have had all that baggage, you wouldn't have,
I wouldn't
you
have
know,
found this.
right.
Never.
And you wouldn't feel the need of continue working on yourself either, just, because you don't want to go back there. Uh,
Yeah.
so that's great.
I think that it's just a passion as well. Like, I really love now, I love seeing how my life has changed so much. So why not keep going? And I know that I've got something really, really amazing coming up, manifesting. So I've actually started to do little vlogs here and there, and then I'm going to upload it once it's manifested to kind of take everyone through the journey. So, you know, because not everyone has money to buy a course. So I
Right.
thought I'm just going to take them through the journey and just upload it to the YouTube and just be like, there you go. Because I don't want to just be all about courses and stuff like that, because I absolutely love making courses, but I just really want to help everyone know that they can be positive, because honestly, I used to be the most negative person. I honestly thought everything bad was happening to me because that was meant to be for me, but
Right.
it doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I mean, and I think it's much easier also for other people to relate when you have a story behind of, being the opposite of what you are today.
Yeah,
And to know that, okay, I can do that too. Because,
anyone can do it.
right. Yeah, that's great.
Because I think sometimes that's why I try not to wear, well, I don't try not to wear, I don't wear makeup often, because when I do, and then I've started to feel guilty for wearing it, because I don't want to be online and posting and then become, like bigger on YouTube, and then people to not, I don't want people, especially younger people, to look and be like, I want to look like that, like that's the way it should look, because it's just not.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a big part of it. Like, I want everyone to feel confident with who they are and to want things for their own self, not because someone else looks like that and they want to look like that. So I just try and be as much relatable as possible. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I know I look so horrible, and I'm just going to just do it, because I don't want to kind of look like unapproachable
Yeah.
and unattainable for being like a poster like girl that, like, with all these filters and stuff like that, because it's not real. And I want everyone to know my story, so then they can be like, it's normal to be like this. It's
Yeah.
completely normal to have spots. It's fine.
Right. Yeah, and I love that. I know, no, we talked about it before. We did the live about, being yourself, and, just be happy for who you are. And it's not
Yeah.
about the image. I mean, and that's the thing, that it's so today is so much about the image. And it's because if you go to different courses about, being an entrepreneur and everything, and, some people say that you have to take the picture like this, and you have to,
Yeah. Oh,
and
it's just,
that works
yeah.
great for many people. I'm not saying that it's not good. I'm not saying it's bad either, but I do believe that you have to be yourself, and you have to be original, and you have to be able to be natural, because
Yeah.
that's also one of the things that I want to, bring out to people, to be natural. You don't have to, look like a certain person, because that's what society is telling you, that that's how beautiful looks like.
Yeah. I think it really hit as well when I had Isabella. I was just like, oh, she is not growing up in a world like this. Like, no. Like,
Yeah.
I just would hate it. And I used to actually be a beautician. I used to have my own business being a beautician. And even then, I wouldn't always wear makeup, because, and I would tell my clients, like, you don't need any of this. Like, you don't. Like, you don't. Like, and they would be like, I want loads of makeup. Like, you don't need loads of makeup. Like, no, you don't. Because I've always been that kind of way. It's not just now. It's always been like that, because I've always been down on the way I look and trying to be so, like, controlling and strict of myself to look a certain way. And then it just shouldn't be like that. That's not what it's meant to be. It's like, you're meant to love yourself for who you are, rather
Yeah.
than to look a certain way because it gets more likes. It's ridiculous. But
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. And like you said, it might be a thing when you get a daughter that kind of hits you a bit harder.
yeah, it scared me.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like with my daughter, I say that she's beautiful like all the time. and
Yeah.
that it has to, and not only that she's beautiful because the way she looks, but because she's such a good person, and because she
Yeah.
cares for people, and because she's a good friend and a lovely daughter and a sister. So to bring out her characteristics and not only
Yeah.
her, how she looks. So
I
but
think
yeah,
that's why I found it so hard. Like, everyone's like, you should do a law of attraction video on like how to change your appearance, and I just could not bring myself to do it because why? Like, I don't want to do that because it's fine to be the way you are, and it's like it's so hard for people to actually accept that. They're like, yeah, it's fine to be the way you are if you're naturally pretty. It's like, no, it's fine to be the way you are no matter what. Like,
yeah,
you
yeah,
are the way you are. Like, God or the universe, whoever you believe in, they made you that way because you're perfect the way you are.
yeah,
So I think, coming from me, like, I used to have, when I was in high school, I used to have like an eating disorder. I've always kind of really struggled with my own image. And then as I've grown up, I'm like, no, like, if you don't accept me for me, then just don't be around me. And
yeah,
I think I'm lucky enough to have gone through that so I can really see the depth of it,
yeah,
because now I love to, like, I've always told, like, Freddie, my son, and Isabella, like, she doesn't even know what we're on about yet, but I've always told them, like, nice things to make sure I want them to grow up feeling confident.
mm-hmm.
And even Freddie came home from school the other day and he was like, we have an affirmation board in school, it's so cool. And I was like, yes. So I was like, what was your
Great.
affirmation? And he was like, that I can manifest anything I want. And I was like, yes, because I don't want them ever to feel like they have less power than they do.
Yeah,
And maybe that is a little bit, not as good when you're their parents sometimes, because they feel like they can do anything.
right.
But yeah, I just want everyone to feel empowered in their own self
Yeah,
without kind of going outwards to get the answers as well.
yeah,
So
yeah, that's great. I love that. And I do believe that there are so many people that really kind of do understand that you don't have to, I mean, just be satisfied with yourself and love yourself for who you are. And just, I don't know, I find it more and more important to bring out that message. And I love that you're doing that as well. Because I think that, there's so many people that take care of others and love others, but then they say that they don't love themselves. And it's like, okay, but how can you love someone else so much, but you don't love yourself?
yeah, and it's like the reverse, like, psychology. It's like they love someone else so much because they don't love themselves. They really need to give it out, and then they're trying to look for love. And it's like, I feel like if everyone worked on themselves first, the love that they can receive is so much more powerful because
Yeah,
they can feel comfortable receiving the love.
yeah,
And I didn't realize how hard it was for me to receive love. Oh, I had to. I like to push myself outside of my comfort zone. If I notice that there's something that I'm like, a bit scared of or not able to do, I'll make myself get over it. So I actually, my family already know about, me being a bit crazy by now. So I actually messaged them all. We have a family group chat, and I put on there, okay, so I'm forcing myself to do this. This is the next step. Like, I'm going to tell you guys I love you every day. And I felt so uncomfortable. Like, and it's my family. I shouldn't really feel uncomfortable, but
right.
we're just not a family to say that. And I literally was cringing sending the message, and I just closed my eyes and just sent it. And everyone was like, yeah, I've really got a problem with that too. And like, because like, growing up, I don't really remember my parents telling me that they loved me. Not that they didn't, because I know they did,
Yeah,
but it just was something that we never really used to talk about.
yeah,
And that now I'm like so uncomfortable with. I tell my kids constantly how much I love them, but I find it so uncomfortable if someone says it to me. So
yeah.
even if my partner would say it, like, I would literally feel so uncomfortable. So
No.
that's why I think I'm like, no, I'm working on myself, because this is obviously something that I didn't even realize come up. And I'm like, okay, let's deal with this. And I just forced myself to deal with it. And now I feel so much more comfortable with my own self. because it's not no one else. It's all from me, really.
Right.
So
Yeah. Yeah. She's also saying how much she loves you.
yeah.
She's such a cutie.
Are you a good girl?
Yes.
Just talking away to yourself. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. But how do you feel? I mean, now that you know all of this that you didn't know when you grow up, how are you gonna teach your children? I mean, to be
So
more
I
open-minded, or how have
I
you thought
think I'm just going to be as honest as possible. And hi.
about?
So with my son, I tell him all about this stuff all the time, like, and he's like, what, so like I have superpowers? And I'm like, 100%. Like, you definitely do. Like, we don't realize the power we have. And then now, because I'm so open and honest with him, like, I will say some things like, like, he's seen someone not be very nice in school to one of his friends, and he was like, that will really hurt their feelings and that will stick with them for a very long time. And I'm like, yes. So like, he's understanding, because I want him to understand that, if you say something to someone, then it has power behind your words. So don't just necessarily think, that's fine because you're in a mood to say something. You need to be careful with how you're making other people feel. So I really make sure he knows that. And I don't really have to do that because he's genuinely such a kind person. Like, it's really easy. And he understands it a lot more than I do sometimes. So he actually came to me and he was like, okay, so what if thoughts aren't really ours and they come to us on purpose? And I was like, okay, keep
Good
going. And
point.
I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, what if they're telling us for a reason so we can go help someone, or if we can do something? And I was like, that actually makes sense. And I
Yeah.
was like, you freak me out sometimes. You're so good at this stuff. And then I went on to YouTube that night and I've seen someone make a video on how thoughts aren't really ours. And he was like, really? Like, how do you know these things? But he's
Yeah.
more connected than I am. He's younger. But I just
Right.
want him to know to be comfortable in his own self, to express whatever he wants to. So like, he actually, if people, he'll be like, okay, someone fell over in school today and I did healing on them. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, are they okay? And he's like, yeah, Mum, they said it worked. And I'm like, you're amazing. Like, so I just want to just keep encouraging that positive attitude, because I want him to not kind of lose himself. Like, I want him to stay as positive and as he can. And obviously he has his tantrums, but
Right.
he knows that, he is a powerful person and
Yeah.
he can be confident, do whatever he wants. And since he's learned all of these things, his confidence has gone really high.
Oh,
So
that's great. That's great. And they learn so much just by seeing what you do. I mean,
yeah,
like tonight when I was coming down, my daughter, she's like, Mom, is it okay if I meditate before I go to bed? I'm like, sure. She's like, okay, I'm gonna go and give some stones, some crystals to my brother so he can also meditate. I'm like,
oh, it's so
okay.
cute.
I have like never really said to them to take crystals.
Yeah, yeah,
Just when she's like in a bit of a mood, like the other day, I was like, take a crystal, take whichever color calls you, and just
yeah,
sit down and we meditate together. Uh, so I love seeing how things kind of go through without you even trying, you know?
yeah. I think if they're not interested, then don't push it. But like, if
Right.
they're interested, then yeah, by all means, like, tell them. But I think Freddie actually asked for a yoga mat the other day, so we got him a yoga mat because I've been doing yoga in the mornings, and he was like, "How can you do that?" And I'm like, "Because it's just practice." So he got his yoga mat and he's been practicing, and he loves it. And I think I've caught him a few times. I've got a little video of him meditating. He was just sat there meditating. I was like, what are you doing? He was like, and I'm like, okay, I'll just leave you to it. So I never tell him to do any of it. He just naturally does it. Or I think if Isabella, she's like been teething, so he's like this, and I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm healing her. And I'm like, okay.
Oh, that's so cute. And that's lovely. So I don't know if to round it up, maybe, is there anything in particular that you want to say to people out there?
Um, I think honestly, just do what makes you happy. So I was so nervous to start like a spiritual business. Like wow, like it just didn't feel like I was good enough to do it. But that's what would make me happy. I didn't like to go to my job because, you know, it wasn't the environment I wanted to be around. But I followed what made me happy, and it's just continued to make me happier and happier. Like, I don't feel like I have really a job because it feels so exciting every day, and I just feel inspired and things like that. So I think if you follow what makes you happy, you can't really ever go wrong.
Yeah.
And anytime you feel fear, just know that it's not fear in a negative way, it's growth. So I learned that really recently.
Yeah, you too.
I learned that really recently where I was growing. I was like going into like my next stage of like, so like you go through a spiritual awakening and then you kind of go through like mini ones. You only ever go through really one and it just gets more in depth. But
Right.
I was kind of going through like another one, and it was kind of just overwhelming, the fear I got, because I knew that my energy was changing, but my lovely friend told me like it's fine. Fear is growth. It just means that you're growing. It's because your ego kind of wants to keep you in the same place because it knows it's safe, and
Yeah.
it's just growing, and it doesn't mean it's bad, it's just different.
Yeah.
And it really helped me when I felt the nerves come up and the fear. I was like, it's okay, it's fine. And I just faced it head on. I was like, it's fine, it's just because I'm growing and I'm okay with that. And the fear went so quickly. So
Yeah.
in the past, I've really, if I felt fear, I've like, gone backwards a little bit. But now I know this, I'm like, I feel more confident to keep growing and keep trying my best to just be as happy as I can. So,
That's great. And one last question, because this is like the question that I have had with everyone in my life since last year. How was 2020 for you?
amazing. Absolutely. It's probably the best year of my life.
How come?
So, because I started my spiritual business actually in the start of 2020, the start of the first lockdown for me, I lost my job and I was pregnant, and I was like, wow, what am I going to do? And I just took the leap again. Crazy me. I was just like, I'm just going to do this. And I invested thousands of pounds into, you know, coaches to make sure, you know, they were coaching me how to do it and how
Mhm.
to actually, you know, run the business.
Mhm.
And I just did it, and the growth was crazy. Like, I went through so many different things. Even then, like, you know, I got really poorly in the pregnancy because my body was just really tired. And Isabella liked to be a little bit of a pain, but it's fine. She's cute, it's fine. So even though that I was going through a lot, I was so happy. It never got me down. I was so positive, and like my partner works away, so he was away for most of the lockdown. But I still was able to stay so positive because of the growth I've been through. So yeah, it was probably the best year so far.
That's great. I love to hear that. And it's, even if people talk so much about 2020 was terrible and we want to forget it, and yet from all the lives that I have had, there is like only one person that has seen more of a negative aspect of it. But
Yeah.
all the other people have actually said how much either they have grown or how they have been able to help more people, or building the community. And I love that, also to spread kind of inspiration throughout these times when many
Yeah,
other
I think,
people are so focused on the negative and everything
yeah,
bad that is happening, instead of
yeah,
saying, okay, you have an opportunity here to kind of
You can
come
grow
back
so
to
much.
yourself.
Like, you're on your own. You're in your safe place, so you can grow so much in that space if you choose to.
Yeah.
And I actually started coaching one of my best friends, and now we're like spiritual together. I'm like, yes, I've turned you to my side of things. So
That's great.
she now know it's really nice to have someone to talk to that really understands it, because she's so more positive too. So we're both growing together. And
That's
it's been
lovely.
really nice to kind of grow. I've just grown so much over the last year, and I'm so grateful to have the experience I had, because if I never lost my job, I would have been miserable still.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I'm so happy to hear about that and about your journey. And I'm sure we're going to be hearing so much more from you.
I'm not going anywhere.
So I'm going to link later your YouTube channel so people can go there and watch it. And this live will be on YouTube as well. If you want to keep, if you haven't watched everything, I kind of got just the end. So yeah, we're gonna put some info if you want to get in touch with Abby. And yeah, thank you so much, Abby, for sharing your story and what you do and how how you got where you are today. And thank you all for watching.
Thank you for letting me be here.
Yeah. So take care, everyone. Bye.